So last video I kind of touched on flat earth, and no matter what your opinion is of that subject, it should at least get you to challenge your worldview a little bit. But the subject I ran into last week, I really can't figure out. And if you thought you had a good grip on reality, I'm telling you, you don't have any idea until you look into the Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect got its name because a lot of people believe that Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s instead of dying recently in 2013. I can't confirm or deny this because I was born in 1981, so I wouldn't remember, and I didn't pay much attention to politics when I was a kid. But there's a lot of people saying this, and it's hard to believe that this many people would misremember this kind of stuff, because that seems to be the whole theory behind the Mandela Effect, is that the main point is that people are misremembering these things. And I think that's a bunch of crap when you really look into it. But anyway, there's a lot more going on than just Nelson Mandela dying in prison and people misremembering it. There's way more to this. And the main thing is this Berenstain conspiracy that's going around. And like many other people, I would have bet a healthy wager that it was Berenstain and not Berenstain like it is now. Because I remember seeing this book cover like a year ago when I was looking at other videos, and I just somehow stumbled onto the Berenstain topic. And I remember looking at it like a year ago, and I was like, why did they change the name? That looks really weird. I mean, why would they change it? That doesn't make any sense. So I just thought they simply changed the name from Berenstain to Berenstain. But just recently, in the past month or so, I started finding out about people calling this Mandela Effect, and that apparently it was always Berenstain and never Berenstain. And like I said, I would have bet a healthy wager there's no way that was Berenstain. I didn't even read. I was never even a Berenstain Bear fan, but I remember when I was a kid seeing the books everywhere, and it said Berenstain on it. There was no doubt about it. And that's why a lot of people have come up with this parallel universe theory, where there's a multiverse theory where, say, there's multiple universes going on at the same time simultaneously, and we somehow shift from one to the other, whether there's an unseen force that forces us into this other universe, I don't know, or if it just happens naturally. But if you think about it as, okay, there's universe A, where it was always Berenstain, which 90% of people seem to remember, and then there's parallel universe B, where it was always called Berenstain. And say you're in universe A, and you're going on for years and years and years, and it's always Berenstain, and then somehow you get shoved into universe B, where it was always Berenstain, and that's how a lot of people theorize we've ended up with this, because there's not a lot of other explanation for this. There's no conspiracy that would involve, the government coming in and replacing your books with, replacing your Berenstain books with Berenstain. Obviously, there's no way they could go through all that to create such a large conspiracy, so that's obviously out the window. So that's why people come up with these theories, because they know in their heart that it was Berenstain, but it somehow changed. So, that's the logical thing to do, is look for other theories. So, I mean, it might sound far out there when people come up with these theories, but it's like, to me, it makes sense, because, just like how science is, if you can't explain something through normal logic, you have to develop theories to try to explain it. There's even been photoshopped images of the Berenstain Bears as being Berenstain Bears, to make people think that, people saying that there are no physical books anymore that have Berenstain, they want to make it look like it's just a hoax, like an internet hoax, and that there's nothing to see here, But if you look at, you'll find out even though this looks really convincing, like it was a pretty good Photoshop job, it's hard to, Even if you zoom in really close, it's hard to tell where they photoshopped it. But you find out it is photoshopped because here's the same photo with Berenstain in the title. See, this is, you can tell this is the exact same photo because the books are in the same positions. It's the exact same photo. So yeah, they're trying to get you to believe it's a hoax. And if you look online, let's see, I gotta go back. Alright, if you do a Google search on this, of course, just like with any other conspiracy, there's a lot of cynical websites. In the first few search results, you're gonna get people that write these articles act childish, you know, like they're trying to make it look like a big joke. Like, for example, this BuzzFeed article, when you click on it, it says, "Did you know there's a term for when you're totally positive something happened even though it didn't? It's called the Mandela Effect, and a lot of people think it's proof of an alternative universe." So right away they're being really cynical about it. Instead of, you know, being really serious and maybe saying, well, maybe there's something to this. But in this whole article, this particular article, they're kind of making fun of it the whole time. Alright, like, yeah, I've heard this one. A lot of people, this one's interesting to me. A lot of people say they remember 51 or 52 states being taught in school. In my universe, it was always 50 states. So I can't speak to that, but then again, you know, I'm 34, so maybe these people are older, and maybe they did used to teach 52 states, but like I don't know. A lot of people might have got confused with that too, because apparently there were districts that were counted as states too. But if you really dig into this, people like they will insist no, these were definitely states, and they even remember the 52 stars on the flag, where they remember that they had those odd stars on the flag that added up to 52 states, and all kinds of other stuff. They remember people dying at different, celebrities dying at different times than they supposedly really did. And some people thought Muhammad Ali died when he didn't. I mean, some of these, it could be possible that, because I remember a story about Muhammad Ali saying he was near death, but I don't ever remember one saying confirmed he was dead. So some of that can just be a misunderstanding, but a lot of these other ones I don't think are misunderstandings because I remember them. And like I said, at least in the time I'm living in, it was true. People bring up dilemma, how that was spelt different. It used to, they say it used to be D-I-L-E-M-N-A instead of how it is now, D-I-L-E-M-M-A. See, I think that one, I do remember dilemma. So anyway, you get the point. And also, this has really exploded on YouTube lately, especially in the past 2 weeks. I've noticed a lot of just individual people have come up with these, have done their own videos on it. And you can see all kinds of them here. Now, as I said earlier, I was never a Berenstain Bear fanatic. You know, I didn't have all the books. I didn't even read many, but I saw them everywhere, and I distinctly remember it being spelled with an E and not an A, like many other people. But I'm 100% sure, I'm even more convinced that what you're seeing in stores now, when they spell it Froot Loops, and they spell it F-R-O-O-T loops, I know for a fact when I was a kid it was spelled F-R-U-I-T loops, you know, just like a piece of fruit. It was not spelt like that with 4 O's. And I also remember for certain that there was only, you see where they replace the O's with the actual Froot Loops that are in the cereal. I only remember on the modern boxes, I only remember that happening on the loops part and not in the top part where it says fruit. So I know there was not 4 of them. I distinctly remember just 2. And I know it was spelt like a piece of fruit. And I noticed this
probably, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe as far back as 10 years ago, when I was in the store and I started noticing this. I started noticing Froot Loops spelled Froot. And when I saw that, I thought they were, it was just some kind of a, I don't know, just another way to sell. They were trying to be cute with the name, so they changed it. They changed the spelling, so that it would be more relatable to kids. Or maybe they changed the name because there's no actual fruit in a bowl of Froot Loops. So I thought maybe legally they had to change the name to Froot instead of Fruit. But as it turns out, that's not the case, because if you do a search on Google or anything, you will not find a single picture of Fruit anywhere on the boxes. And that really perplexes me, because I know for a fact, like many others, that it was spelled Fruit before. And even if you look at older boxes, like this one here, it's still spelled Froot, and it stands out even more. The spelling looks even more odd when you take out those cereal shapes and you just replace them with regular O's. Like, your brain is telling you, just like with Berenstain Bears, you're like, that there's something with that A that is just off-putting and my brain's telling me it doesn't look right. It's the same thing with Froot Loops. You can look at this box and be like, no, that's not right. It was never spelt with, there was never 4 O's in Froot Loops. It just wasn't the case. But yet, you will not find a record of Fruit if you look anywhere online. And here is this is what I think. I mean, these are just going to be some kind of hack job, Photoshop jobs that I did. I actually used the Paint program on this because I haven't figured out how to use Photoshop entirely yet. But you get the point. I just replaced the U and the I on the OO. And this is probably what a lot more people remember, like me in childhood, of remembering how it was spelt. This is a lot closer to how I remember it being spelt, like, just like a piece of fruit. But here again is what they're saying it is now. And moving on to Looney Tunes, this is another one that I think they changed along with many other people. See, notice they're spelling it tunes, like a song, like a tune on the radio, or like you're tuning into something on the television, that kind of spelling. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I remember it looking more like this, with the prominently remembering 4 O's in the name, Looney Tunes. And tune was spelled like tune, like as in cartoons. It wasn't like the other kind of tune. But if you look at it now, this is what it looks like they changed it to. And here's another one. Now, I never actually watched the movie Interview with the Vampire or Interview with a Vampire, but I worked in the electronics department at a Walmart, and I would always be looking at titles of videos, just subconsciously. I just remember staring at the videos and seeing, noticing the spelling on things. I mean, that's just the way I am. I notice little details like that. And I never remembered this plain old Interview with the Vampire on the box. I remember it more like this, where it had a big red A on it, and the A was prominent, like it was written in blood or something, which would make sense because it would, you think of vampires, you're thinking of blood. And I remember Interview with a Vampire, and the A really stood out on the title. But nowadays it just looks like, really plain, like, Interview with the Vampire. No way. And here's one that no one's pointed out yet, but I find it very odd. this is what the current Raisin Bran box looks like. And there's two very odd things here. First of all, the spelling of raisin. It's not just on this box that the raisin is spelt like that. If you do a search on the word, apparently raisin has always been spelt with two I's. But I don't remember that. I remember it being more like this, where there's only one I in it, and it's just spelt simply R-A-S-I-N. There is no silent I. And the way they're spelling it makes it look like, it's almost like raise in, like something's raising up. But like I said, I just remember raisin. There was no additional I in it. So, this is possible. Maybe this is a real, actual Mandela effect with me, where I just remember raisin being spelt that way, but maybe it was always spelt with two I's. I don't know, but that's just one that I haven't noticed anyone bring up, and maybe someone else can comment on it, whether they remember what I remember or if it is actually spelt with two I's.